My new boss fired me on my second day. He didn't give a reason, no warning, no feedback, just sat across the glass table in that sleek, soulless office and said, "You're not the right culture fit." I smiled, not because I was okay with it, but because I knew something he didn't. I was never there to fit in. I was there to investigate him, and after just 2 days, I was already too close to the truth. On paper, my name was Riley Monroe, communications assistant, a fresh recruit at Solex Tech, a rising tech giant known for its AI surveillance systems and no-scandal policy. But I wasn't here to write blog posts or tweet press releases. I was planted by a private legal group hired by the family of Camille Harper, a 26-year-old software engineer who vanished 6 months ago after filing an internal HR complaint. That complaint was never acknowledged. Camille's employee file was wiped. Her name was missing from all project logs. Solex Tech's official story? She resigned and moved overseas. But her family never got a goodbye. No suitcase, no bank withdrawals. Just silence. The last ping from Camille's phone was inside this building. And the man who oversaw the ethics division at the time? Ethan Rowe, my new boss. I'd been tracking him for 3 months before this assignment. A golden boy in the corporate world, Ivy League, perfect suits, perfect teeth. A reputation so clean it sparkled, but that's how predators operate. They don't show up looking dangerous. They show up charming, logical, untouchable. Day 1 was orientation. I met the team, took notes, smiled when I had to. But even then, the tension in the room was thick. Every time Ethan passed by, employees straightened up. No one made eye contact. One woman, I think her name was Nira, stopped talking mid-sentence when she saw him enter the floor. There was fear in the air, not stress. Not pressure, fear. I started digging that night. Camille's name didn't appear in any active databases, but I found an old login credential in a shared drive, long expired but still echoing in metadata. It was like seeing a ghost. Her last file edits were oddly timed, some around 2:14 a.m., others overlapping with access from 2 separate IPs. That's when I knew. Someone had been tampering with her work, maybe after she disappeared. I flagged 2 documents that looked scrubbed, clean, file names but no version history, a dead giveaway. I emailed myself a copy through an encrypted tunnel my legal team had set up before I joined. It was only my first day, and already I was seeing cracks. Then day 2 happened. At 10:11 a.m., I was called into Ethan's office. He was calm, professional, said he appreciated my background. But then his tone shifted. "I just don't think this is going to work out," he said, folding his hands. "You're not the right cultural fit. You ask a lot of questions." I stared at him. He was smiling. Not warmly, not cruelly. Smiling like a man who knew he'd just buried another secret. I nodded, picked up my notebook. Walked out of that building like it was over. But it wasn't. Because now I knew he was hiding something. And the fact that he fired me that fast meant I was closer than I ever realized. The security guard at the front desk didn't even look at me when I handed over my badge. It made sense. I was already forgotten. Just another failed hire in the churn of corporate turnover. But I hadn't really left. Not in the way they thought. That evening, I checked into a rundown motel 7 blocks from Solex Tech headquarters. Paid in cash. No real name. No traceable devices. I locked the door, pulled the blackout curtains, and opened my encrypted laptop. I wasn't here to blend in anymore. I was here to dig. The 2 documents I'd forwarded myself before Ethan fired me weren't just blank templates. They were wiped. Scrubbed clean of history, but not completely. Metadata is stubborn. I saw traces of edits at 2:14 a.m., a time when no one should have been logged in. There were also cross-device accesses, 2 IPs pinged at once, 1 internal and 1 off-site. Someone had been tampering with Camille Harper's work remotely after she was gone. This wasn't just a firing. This was a cover-up, I needed help. I reached out to Bryce Miles, a name I remembered from a whistleblower tip line, former IT analyst at Solex Tech. He'd gone completely off-grid a few months after Camille vanished. I sent a coded message through a secure ethics forum only insiders knew how to navigate. He replied within 2 hours. Meet me, 2 a.m. East Diner. Come alone. He was already seated when I arrived. Hoodie up, eyes sunken, fingers twitching around a coffee mug. You're investigating. Camille, he said. No pleasantries. Just truth. I nodded. I tried too, he whispered, until they reminded me who controls everything. He told me about Project Beacon, an internal behavioral monitoring system posing as a culture fit tool. It tracked typing rhythms, email tone analysis, internal chat patterns, even camera micro-expressions during meetings. AI assessed, risk-rated, and logged. They called it compliance mapping, Bryce said. What it really did was find troublemakers. And Camille? She was flagged. Red level. They marked her for escalation. What does escalation mean? He looked down. No one knows, but no one hears from them again. I left that. Diner with a burner USB Bryce handed me. Inside, beacon logs, showing Camille's risk scores spiking the week before she vanished. 3 meetings with HR, 1 private meeting with Ethan, then silence, and a final tag in red, escalated directive. Issued. I returned to my motel room, paranoia already clawing at my back. I unplugged every camera in sight, checked the vents, turned mirrors backward. Old habits. I mapped Camille's final days based on access logs and system pings. Her last document. Save came at 3:46 a.m. from a conference room that should have been locked. Then, the next evening, a calendar event appeared. Exit interview HR scheduled for 8 p.m. Who holds an HR meeting at night? Only people who don't want witnesses. I dug further. Through deleted messages, leftover metadata, shared. Cloud calendars. And that's when I found it. A reference to a storage locker rented under Camille's name just 3 blocks from headquarters. It had never been opened. I booked a rideshare and went, using a fake badge to bypass the ID system. The locker was tucked in the back of the facility, dusty but untouched. Inside, I found a single item, a hollowed-out book with a USB drive taped inside, labeled, "For when they try to erase me." My hands shook as I pocketed it. I didn't know what was on it yet. But I knew one thing for certain. Camille hadn't just been scared, she'd been hunted, and now I was next. I stared at the USB drive in my hand. Taped inside a hollow book labeled Invisible Systems. Fitting. Camille always loved metaphors. She wanted someone to find this, someone who could finish what she started. Back at my motel, I ran the USB through a sandboxed offline rig. No Wi-Fi. No live ports. I was cautious now. Solex Tech's AI could ping unauthorized device access in milliseconds. The drive spun up slowly. A single folder appeared. Final warning. WAV1 audio file. No encryption, no password. Just a name that made my stomach twist. I pressed play. At first it was silence. Then a shaky voice. Camille's. If you're hearing this, I didn't quit. I didn't leave. I said something I wasn't supposed to. And I think they're coming for me. Her breath hitched. It started after I filed a report about Ethan Rowe. He told me I was overthinking things. Said I lacked loyalty. Then my inbox changed. My calendar was wiped. Files I didn't create started appearing under my login. I wasn't paranoid. I was being watched. A long pause. Then, a second voice. Cold. Male. Measured. Ethan. You're digging a grave, Camille, and I'm trying to be kind about it. You can't threaten me. I'm not threatening. I'm predicting. We don't let liabilities stay on payroll, and we certainly don't let them take us down. Her voice cracked. I'm not afraid of you. You should be. The file ended. I sat frozen for nearly a full minute. Then I hit play again. I needed to memorize it, every breath, every silence. This wasn't just evidence, it was motive. Ethan had confronted Camille. He'd admitted surveillance, admitted removal. And he knew she was recording, but he didn't care, because he thought no one would ever hear it. He was wrong. I encrypted the file, copied it to 3 separate offline drives, and mailed them to 3 people I trusted with my life. If anything happened to me, they'd leak it to the press. I wasn't taking chances. Not now, but Ethan must have sensed something. Because that night, someone tried to break into my motel room. It wasn't loud. No broken glass. Just the faint, unmistakable click of a lockpick. I was ready. I kept the lights off, crept to the door, and jabbed the sharp end of a broken tripod into the hinge from inside. The door snapped back. Footsteps. Fast. Running. They. Left behind a small object, wedged in the doorframe. A voice recorder. I played it. Static. Then a message. Back off. You weren't supposed to stay. Last chance. They were still watching me, and I was running out of time. I needed to go bigger. A one-person operation wouldn't be enough. I needed a way to broadcast. Camille's message to the world, loud, fast, and undeniable. So I contacted Maya Griggs, a former systems analyst at Solex Tech. She'd been quiet since her resignation last year. But on a hunch, I emailed her using an old anonymized key that Camille had once referenced in her notes. Maya replied within the hour. I've been waiting for someone to find that file. We met the next day in an abandoned co-working space downtown. Maya was sharper than I remembered, eyes scanning everything, one hand always near her laptop bag. You have the recording? She asked. I nodded. And you're ready to risk everything? I already did. Maya laid out the plan. Solex Tech was hosting an exclusive investor showcase the following week. Ethan would be presenting Project Beacon's global rollout. The room would be full of CEOs, journalists, and shareholders, and all of it would be broadcast on a short, closed-loop stream, unless someone cracked the loop. I can get you 5 minutes, Maya said. But once that feed opens, you better be gone, because they'll be looking for you. I smiled. I'll be gone before they blink. The final days leading up to the showcase were a blur. I forged press credentials under a freelance journalist, alias, bought a clean suit, learned the floor plan, wrote my exit plan 3 different ways. Camille's voice played in my head every night before I fell asleep. I'm not afraid of you. You should be. By the night before the event, my nerves were electric. This wasn't just about Ethan anymore. This was about all of them, the board members who approved the system, the compliance officers who buried reports, the executives who benefited from silence. They erased Camille. But now she would speak, louder than ever. The lobby of the Converge Tower was marble smooth and full of polished smiles. No one questioned me as I moved through the crowd. That was the power of appearance. Clean blazer, media badge, steady steps. People only look closer when you act like you don't belong. But I belonged here, more than anyone in that building. The investor showcase was already humming with anticipation. Screens displayed bold graphics about ethical AI integration and predictive security intelligence. Ethan's face flashed every few minutes, charming, visionary, deceptive. The air buzzed with capital and lies. My fake ID said I was Layla Jensen, a tech journalist for a mid-tier digital review site. Maya had registered me in the press list 2 days ago, and no one batted an eye. Solex Tech only cared about high-dollar threats. They never noticed the quiet ones slipping beneath the radar. I made my way toward the AV control station. 2 guards were posted, but I wasn't going there, not directly. I slipped through the side panel hallway, entered the small utility room, behind the stage, and reached into my bag. The pen looked ordinary, click-top, matte black, branded with the Solex Tech logo. But inside, Maya had installed a custom payload, an auto-execute sequence that would override the media stream for exactly 1 minute. Long enough to play Camille's audio, long enough to change everything. I clipped the pen into the USB port of the backup terminal, hidden under the media desk. The light blinked once, then went solid, armed. Now I waited. Ethan took the stage 20 minutes later. He looked as confident as ever, perfectly pressed suit, that smooth tone that made people forget what monsters sound like when they wear cologne. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "we stand on the edge of a new era, where artificial intelligence doesn't just predict behavior, it protects integrity." Applause. Fake smiles, phones recording. I stood at the back, near the catering trays, heart steady, fingers on the trigger of the pen in my pocket. My voice trembled inside my mind, but my face remained stone. Camille deserved more than nerves. She deserved justice, Ethan continued. Project Beacon has undergone over a year of closed testing. We've eliminated threats before they become threats. Behavior doesn't lie, and the data proves it. I squeezed the pen. A soft vibration ticked in my palm. The stream had shifted, and then Camille's voice filled the room. "If you're hearing this, I didn't quit. I didn't leave. I said something I wasn't supposed to. And I think they're coming for me." The room froze. Every head turned. Ethan's mouth opened, then shut. The screen behind him flickered, replaced with a waveform. No visuals. Just voice. It started after I filed a report about Ethan Rowe. He told me I was overthinking things, said I lacked loyalty. Then my inbox changed. My calendar was wiped. Gasps, whispers, phones shot up. "You keep pushing, Camille, and no one's going to remember your name. You can't threaten me. You should be afraid." Silence. And then a single word in red appeared on the screen. "Escalated." Ethan tried to speak, but someone shouted from the board seats. "Is this real?" Another voice yelled. "What the hell is Beacon actually doing?" A woman near the back ran out of the room. Several board members stood frozen, staring at Ethan like they were seeing him for the first time. He looked pale, lost, like a god, whose lightning bolt had just been stolen. I backed toward the exit. Security began to move, but not toward me, toward Ethan. Because it wasn't just the audio file I'd played. Maya had timed the leak. Every major media outlet had received Camille's file, every document, every log, every buried complaint. Maya hit send 5 minutes before the stream began. This wasn't just a broadcast. It was a reckoning. I disappeared into the side alley, jacket off, hair tied differently, badge gone. I took the subway out of the city. No trace, no trail. That night, the news exploded. Tech exec exposed in live. Audio leak, missing employees' final words go public. Project Beacon AI under federal scrutiny. Where is Ethan Rowe? He was gone. Vanished before authorities arrived. Camille's parents released a statement. It was simple. "We knew our daughter wouldn't just disappear. Now the world knows it too." That meant more to me than all the headlines, because I hadn't just exposed Ethan. I'd made sure she wouldn't be forgotten. For the first time in weeks, I slept. Not deeply, not peacefully, but long enough to feel real again. When I woke up, the world had changed. Camille Harper's voice, once buried, deleted, denied, was now everywhere. The audio file played across morning news, independent streams, tech podcasts. Not a viral scandal. A reckoning. Her words had become the anthem of every woman erased by silence, every whistleblower who never got to finish their story. Ethan Rowe was missing. There were reports of his private plane being grounded in New Jersey, of a black SUV leaving his penthouse at 2 a.m., of him possibly fleeing to a country without extradition laws. But all speculation, no confirmed sightings, and Solex Tech? Their stock dropped 42% in 36 hours. Multiple board members resigned publicly. Internal documents surfaced through anonymous leaks, copies of employee surveillance reports, transcripts from the compliance committee Camille warned about. A federal investigation was launched before the week ended. Subpoenas were already being served, but none of that brought Camille back, and that's what haunted me. 3 days after the broadcast, I knocked on the door of a modest home in Connecticut. Camille's, Mother answered. Her eyes looked like they'd cried for years and never fully dried. She didn't speak, just opened the door wider. Inside, I sat across from her and Camille's father. They didn't ask for my name. I think they already knew. Word gets around when you're the one who detonates a truth bomb on national TV. I pulled a small velvet pouch from my coat and placed it on the coffee table. Inside was Camille's USB, the original. I think she wanted someone to find it, I said, and I think she wanted you to hear her voice. One last time. Her father's hand trembled as he took it. I didn't stay long. I didn't deserve to. But as I stepped off their porch, I heard her mother whisper something behind me. Thank you for remembering her. I spent the next few weeks under a new name. I changed hotels every 3 nights, wore sunglasses indoors, checked reflections, scanned crowds. Ethan may have been gone, but the people who enabled him weren't, and whistleblowers aren't always celebrated. They're watched, feared, sometimes followed, but I didn't hide from fear anymore, because Camille had faced it alone, and I wasn't going to let that happen again. 6 weeks later, I launched Signal Point, a private platform designed to connect whistleblowers to legal, digital and investigative resources. Anonymous, decentralized, unbreakable. It started with one message. If they tried to erase you, send it here. We'll make sure they never do it again. Within 24 hours, the inbox flooded. Nurses silenced by hospital administrators. Coders punished for exposing algorithmic bias. Marketing assistants with NDAs thicker than their resumes. And one that caught my eye immediately. I worked under Ethan Rowe. I was next after Camille. I can prove it. My fingers shook as I replied. The fight wasn't over. It had only changed shape. I walked through Union Square that evening, breathing cold city air, watching the world move around me like nothing had happened. Couples laughed. Taxi horns screamed. Kids chased pigeons. But in my world, something seismic had shifted. In my world, Camille Harper would never again be the girl who disappeared. She would be the woman who spoke when they told her to shut up. And I would be the one who made sure no one ever buried another voice like hers again. On the newsstand near the station, a headline read, FBI issues warrant for Ethan Rowe, Tech. Empire collapses under whistleblower testimony. I smiled softly, then turned and walked into the night. Not a ghost, not a girl who didn't fit the culture, but someone who knew exactly why she was there and exactly what to burn down next. 6 months passed, enough time for headlines to fade, for other scandals to replace mine, for people to forget. But I didn't. I kept moving. Not because I was hiding, but because what I'd uncovered wasn't the end. It was just the first crack. Because as Camille's case gained traction, something else happened. Other names started surfacing. Other companies. Other victims. Some came forward with screenshots, others with audio files. A few had nothing but their trauma and a name they weren't allowed to say out loud. They were janitors, assistants, interns, junior developers, erased not by bullets, but by legal threats and metadata deletions. The same machine Ethan Rowe built? It wasn't unique, it was a template, and I had made enemies who now knew what I looked like when I struck. One night I got an encrypted message, unmarked. They're rebuilding what he started. Different name, Same tactics. It's called Gray Shield AI now. You were supposed to be the end, but they learned from you. Got smarter. Attached was a file. Internal messaging logs. New algorithms. A new executive board, suspiciously clean, all former strategy officers from Solex Tech. And at the top of the list, listed as a silent investor, Row Capital Holdings. Ethan wasn't gone. He'd gone private, and he was rebuilding from the shadows. I stared at the monitor all night. Then I packed my bag. New ID, new face, new role. But the same fire. Because I wasn't just here to expose one man anymore. I was here to burn down the entire structure that allowed him to rise. And this time, I wasn't going alone. The last line Camille ever wrote in her notes, buried in metadata, hidden in a corrupted draft, stayed with me every day since. I won't be quiet. Even if they silence me, I'll echo somewhere. She was right. She became the echo, and I became the voice that carried it forward.